In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war. Progress has been sacrificed on the altar of bloodthirsty gods. An animated corpse revered as a semi-divine emperor has reigned over the million worlds of the Imperium of mankind for the past 10,000 years, all while humanity is beset by three cardinal terrors: the mutant, the alien, and the heretic. Know then that this is a record of the Warhammer 40,000 universe, and that in so many ways it represents the most terrifying facets of dystopian literature we could ever imagine. Welcome to Dystopian Review, the place where we dream of nightmare worlds. Warhammer 40K began its life as a tabletop tactical strategy game published by Games Workshop, with the first edition coming out in September 1987, which is still undergoing revisions and additions today. The original game tasks players with assembling miniatures, measuring distances, and calculating attack success. It's a game I've honestly never played. Over the years, however, the game developed a strong, dystopian, nightmare world-grade fictional narrative. Games Workshop has put out dozens of novels and short stories through its publication wing, The Black Library. As the game's name implies, the setting is the 41st millennium, although the novels cover at least 11 millennia of content. The majority of stories take place within the Imperium of Mankind, which is a xenophobic space empire that has been stagnantly declining since its peak over 10,000 years ago. The Imperium is ruled over by a figure called the Emperor of Mankind. He is an extraordinarily powerful psychic who was mortally wounded 10,000 years ago and interred within an ancient artifact of technology that has, for the most part, preserved his life. He is regarded as akin to a god, and there is no hiding the fact that much of the thematic structure of the Imperium represents the worst of medieval Western mergers between the church and the state, although its emphasis on Gothic architecture is quite beautiful. As the Emperor resides in silence upon his throne on the world of Holy Terra, or as we call it Earth, it is left to the High Lords of Terra to interpret his wishes, and as one might imagine, this leads to individuals interjecting their own desires into official agendas. Humanity achieves faster-than-light travel by passing through a parallel reality known as the Warp. This is a realm where demons of the Chaos Gods lurk and inflict terrible tolls upon unfortunate passers-by. They are guided by the light of what is called the Astronomicon, a tremendous psychic beacon fueled by the death energies of psychers in service to the Emperor. These psychers manipulate the warp, often making them prone to possession by nightmare forms that can doom entire planets. The Imperium plays host to myriad nightmares. One of the most easily conveyed is that of the Inquisition, which fulfills a role similar to what the real-world Inquisition did. They investigate the three cardinal threats I mentioned earlier, and they virtually always strive to destroy whatever threat they are investigating. The Ordo Hereticus, for example, investigates heresy against the God Emperor with a tremendous zealotry. And heresy can be something as simple as asking a question the Imperium would rather not have asked of it. If a heresy grows large enough, the Inquisition may call for the destruction of entire cities, or entire worlds. Many within the Imperium would argue that they have no choice but to commit themselves to total war, given the number of internal and external threats it faces. Aside from ordinary fighters, it deploys forces such as the Adeptus Astartes, genetically enhanced humans with extra organs, superhuman muscle density, and frightening intelligence. The Imperium needs these and many more warriors because the threats they face from alien races, often called Xenos, are terrifying in the extreme. Tyranids can devour virtually any organic matter and adapt themselves to their circumstances. Orcs grow from tiny fungus-like spores into monsters that make impossible technologies function by the dint of their sheer willpower. The machine-like Necrons rise from millions of years of slumber to conquer worlds that develop blissfully unaware that there is a tomb present. Most terrifying of all might be the four primary Chaos Gods, entities which exist in the Warp but use their subordinate demons and other tools to influence mortals into making choices which lead to unspeakable destruction. There is no reasoning with these entities. and their bargains always have some kind of concealed expiration clause. The birth of the youngest of these entities, the pleasure-seeking Slaanesh, destroyed not only the Xenos Eldari, whose excesses created the abomination, but also the human interstellar empire which existed before the Imperium and pursued peace. As the Imperium's great crusade expanded humanity's reach over the stars, the Chaos God's influences retaliated. They corrupted fully half of the Emperor of Mankind's laboratory-grown sons, 9 of these incredibly powerful beings called Primarchs. Their leader, Horus Lupercal, attempted a coup, resulting in a civil war known as the Horus Heresy. The final battle between Horus and his father left the Emperor near death, necessitating his internment within the Golden Throne. This marked the end to any higher interstellar aspirations for humankind. In summation, the Imperium is a nightmare world where lives are short and brutish, where countless billions of soldiers are seen as one step better than expendable, and the only other option for the denizens of this universe appears, at least at first glance, to pray for death rather than one of the myriad worse fates that await them. When analyzing the themes of Warhammer 40K, it's best to begin by acknowledging that it falls primarily within the GrimDark category of space fantasies. The sentiment that in this far-off future there is only war is an anchor to what I think is one of 40K's most prominent themes, that war brings out the worst in humanity, both systemically and individually. The Imperium has forsaken ideas like liberty, progress, and human rights in favor of waging its endless wars against its enemies. That the Imperium creates many of these threats by refusing to even engage the Xenos in diplomacy is immaterial to the fact that the wars exist and therefore exact a toll. It is, again, at first glance, an eternal stagnation that has small peaks and valleys, but for 10,000 years has lacked a revolutionary moment. Within the current setting, however, that stagnation has ended. First came the fall of the fortress world of Cadia to the forces of Abaddon the Despoiler, Horus Lupercal's successor in service to the Chaos Gods. This incredibly intense battle led to a warp rift exploding in size and splitting the Imperium, no, the galaxy, in half. It is said that the planet broke before the guard, that shots were fired even as the planet's crust exploded. Next came the apparent resurrection of one of the Emperor's loyal sons. The Primarch Robute Guilliman immediately took charge of the Imperium, becoming one of the very few to speak directly with the Emperor since his internment. He brought reinforcements and allies with him. He has already fended off one coup attempt against his authority, and he is committed to a new crusade to reunite humanity. He even has positive relations with some of the Xenos Eldari, survivors of their species' downfall. With the narrative shift from eternal stagnation to a time of existential dangers, comes a matching shift to an atmosphere where some glimmers of hope radiate from Guilliman's presiding over the Imperium. While there are certainly nightmares to fear, thus far Guilliman has proven up to the task of bringing about a renaissance to the Imperium. It's true that the Emperor is continuing to slowly, agonizingly wither away. If he were to die, it is hard to imagine how Guilliman could hold the Imperium together. However, now there is someone who has the power and wisdom, through the most brilliant genetic engineering humanity ever uncovered, to at least possibly do so. While the Emperor decays in the Golden Throne behind Eternity Gate, his soul-avenging son might just find a better way for humanity to move forward after all. First of all, thank you so much for watching this video. I started Dystopian Review not to promote dystopia as if it were a positive concept, but rather to analyze dystopian literature to determine how to avoid falling into one in the real world. I want to end this video by telling you how I've engaged with the 40K setting, mainly so you understand where all this postulation came from. First and foremost, I want to give a tremendous thank you to Oculus Imperia. I highly recommend his work, A Pilgrimage to Holy Terra, which is probably what made me plunge deeply into this setting. There's a link in the description for your convenience. Then there's the Warhammer 40K wiki, which is where I spent hours upon hours reading about the various Adepta, Xenos, Primarchs, and all the rest. Many, many good hours. I also use them as my source for images, so it's greatly appreciated. I'd also like to thank the Templin Institute for first introducing me to 40K. I want to give a shout out to Remliez, who runs the YouTube channel 40K Theories. There are many other 40K tubers, like Lewington07 and Wolflord Rowe. I want to give credit to Gav Thorpe, the author of the official short story The Board is Set, which I absolutely loved reading. I also want to credit everyone at Games Workshop who helped put together this dystopian setting. Thank you to Kevin McLeod and Incompetech for their song Corruption. I think I said his name wrong. Thanks to Gregory Booker for beta reading the script. It cleared a few things up. Finally, thank you again, dear viewer, for joining me as we dream of nightmare worlds. Until next time. Oh, and don't forget to like and subscribe. It's how I know you'd like to see more dystopian review and other content on this channel. Thank you.